Are you tired of endless job searches? Hi, I'm George Murray, author of the book Hired, Cut Your Career Search Time in Half. Join me on the Jess Get Hired podcast, where I reveal game-changing strategies where I will help you on the fast track to getting that job you are looking for. Learn how to navigate the job market like a pro and land your dream job faster than ever before. Don't miss this powerful episode, Career Turbocharge, Cut Your Career Search Time in Half. Get ready to take your career to new heights.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Jess Get Hired podcast. I want to welcome you all to another riveting episode of the Jess Get Hired podcast. This is your ultimate guide in navigating the ever-evolving job market and propelling yourself towards that coveted dream career and achieving your professional goals. Well, I'm your host, Jessica Fiesta George, and I help professionals like you in this crazy journey that we call work. Today, I want you to hold on to your seats because I have a true luminary in our midst. Our focus is on a career-altering topic, the art of slicing your career search in half, and joining me today is none other than the remarkable author, George C. Murray. George is the mastermind behind a book called Hired, which is a definitive handbook engineered to expedite the pursuit of your ideal job. He has an arsenal of insights and tactical strategies that are designed to empower you not only to conquer, but revolutionize the job market. But before we plunge into this episode, a quick note. If you're new here, or maybe you've been around for a while, again, my name is Jessica Fiesta George. I'm your host of the Jess Get Hired podcast. This platform caters to professionals at every crossroads of your journey, and every episode is a key to unlocking new opportunities. This is episode 56 of my regular programming, but the excitement doesn't end there, because if you haven't yet caught my new weekly series that I'm calling Hot Takes, those are quick 15-minute nuggets of wisdom that are available for you to watch on YouTube or Spotify. And if you don't have time to watch it, that's okay. Just go over and listen to the audio versions wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And I want to thank the Spicy Gnome Hot Sauce for sponsoring those hot takes on hot topics trending right now. So make sure you go to thespicygnome.com and order your bottle of hot sauce today. Well, on this episode, I have George Murray, and we're talking about how to kickstart your career into hyperdrive. George's own voyage navigating 2 career transitions in under 3 years spurred him to share his hard-earned wisdom and illuminate the career paths for countless others. He draws from a rich history serving in the U.S. Army, and he's had a career in global operations. He emerges as a beacon of leadership, a proponent of positivity amidst a lot of challenges, and he has a gift for overcoming adversity. He's done international stints in Germany, Thailand, and China, which helped him gain a lot of understanding about different cultures, but a universal perspective on different careers. But George is enriched not only by faith and family, but he also radiates success. When he's not writing multiple books, George is a personal coach, he's a corporate consultant, and a magnetic speaker on diverse themes. He helps to foster the next generation of leaders to cultivating robust teams and steers corporate growth. Well, my fellow business pros, if you're ready to distill powerful insights and actionable wisdom that's going to help you in your career pursuits, let me and George turbocharge your career. And let's hear what George has to say on how to cut your career search in half. All right, Jess Get Hired family. I hope you guys are ready to gain valuable insights and practical advice, because we're going to dive into strategies that can help you cut your career search in half. And I know I am ready. Hopefully you guys are, but I'm excited to bring in award-winning author George C. Murray. So I want to welcome him into the Jess Get Hired podcast. Welcome, George.
Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate and I'm glad to be a part of the show.
Awesome. Well, George Murray and Jessica George, we were laughing earlier because I think the Georges have now taken over the hiring game.
Sounds like it.
And I like the name of your book because it also has hired in the title. So I think this conversation is really going to help our audience. What do you think?
I believe so.
Well, back to the title. You titled your book, Hired, Cut Your Career Search Time in Half. Can you share maybe what your inspiration was behind the book and what led you to write such a comprehensive guide?
Sure. And everybody, for the record, it's not a long read. It's 132 pages because no one wants to read an encyclopedia. I wrote the book because I knew that after the first job transition, like most people, we're all lost. We just don't know the plan. And we find out way too late in job transition. And I said, well, this is probably going to be some valuable information if I'm in job transition again, which I found out probably earlier than expected. I wanted to know the process. And so, no one wrote a book from the time that you left your last job to the time that you start your new job. There's a lot to take in and consider, including the mental aspect. How do I keep, an energy, enthusiasm, positive attitude, all that stuff. And so, and I was so upset with all the people who've gone through this process, and no one actually wrote the whole process. Yeah, there's sure books about networking and how to interview, et cetera, but no one put the whole process together. And so that was the reason why I wrote the book.
Well, it's definitely a great guide. And you're right. It's not a long book. I love, I've been flipping through it and it's an easy read. There's like some great nuggets of information. I like how you kind of outlined every chapter with different tips and strategies. So definitely an easy read and very helpful.
No, thank you. That's the intent. I tell people the intent is just imagine that you got laid off on a Friday, which, I don't believe in these days. HR has actually come up to speed, but they still do this. And so, if you took the weekend off, and like me, I'm a slow reader, you can still read that in 2 days. And on Monday, you can start with a plan going forward.
Yep, good point. Well, having experience in 2 different job transitions in less than 3 years, I'm sure that you learned a lot during that transition and that whole process. And I know you kind of outlined this in your book, but maybe tell our listeners who haven't read the book about the key steps that were involved in helping you cut your career search time in half.
Yeah, one of the things there's a lot of tips in the book because, you have to try them all, because the 3 or 4 that worked for me might not work for somebody else. And so what I find is it's really important is try them all and find out which ones work for you. But to me, the 3 things that I think are probably most important in the process is, understanding how do I manage kind of my emotions, my role, because again, job transition is a roller coaster ride of emotions and you're more down than you are up. But, if you're out networking and interviewing, how do I really stay sane and come across to my best self? So we talk about that and how you do that as a part of the next topic of the 3, which is your scheduled day. We left a scheduled life, right? Everything, we got up at a certain time, we did certain tasks. And then what we did was we went to work and we had KPIs and we had meetings. Well, all that's wiped out. And I find that a lot of people, including myself in my first job transition, just wasted a lot of time really kind of putting a structured day in place, right? What am I supposed to do hourly, daily, weekly, and monthly that really move the needle in the right direction? And then the third and the final thing is kind of what I say is so important, what we haven't realized. And I actually had a mentor of mine asked the question a number of years ago, when I was in that first job transition. He said, "Who do you work for, George?" And of course I said, "Well, I used to work for this company." And he goes, "No, you're not getting it." He goes, "Who do you work for?" And so I said, "Well, I work for my family." He goes, "Well, you're getting close, but if you haven't realized, you are the CEO of You Incorporated. So like a CEO, you should have a personal board of advisors. So these are 3 to 5 people that all don't think, walk like you, but also are able to give you feedback, to listen to you, give you insight, and also hold you accountable." One of the big things that we need in job transition, it doesn't matter if you're a C-level, who I've coached, all the way down to a young professional, We need accountability, especially in job transition. So those are the three things I think are most important in these steps.
You know, you mentioned the board of advisors. That's something that a mentor of mine also taught me, to make sure that I'm always, actively searching for new people to join my board, if you will.
Yeah.
Whether that's someone that's not even in my space, or, just someone that I aspire to be. So I think it's really important to surround yourself with those types of people, because you're right, we do need someone who can hold us accountable and can also push us to whatever, level we're aspiring to do.
Right. And I think part of the process, you're going to interview these folks, right? You're
Mhm.
not just going to say, be on my board, but hey, what time can you give me? Certain people can give you, you can call me every day, right?
Mhm.
Certain other people, I don't have that much time, and you probably don't need that much time from them, but you might need their value. And so they're like, well, you can call me every other week or once a month or whatever. But you kind of outline that on. And the last thing I always tell people is, like a CEO, if those people aren't performing, you got to fire them and get some new people.
Absolutely. Yep. And at every stage of your career, you should always be kind of rotating some of those people out too, because, some people might not have served the same purpose that they did before. Well, George, I mentioned in the bio that you were in the Army, so I appreciate your service and thank you so much. You also have a really great background in global operations, which has, of course, shaped your leadership skills and your ability to overcome obstacles. So, how do you believe that your experiences have contributed to your approach when it comes to helping people navigate through the job market?
Well, I think first of all, it's stress, right? If you want people to work in stressful situations, always hire a veteran. They've been there, done
Mm-hmm.
that, right? So I think that, plus the fact that it's in the military, everything is a process, right? Everything's written down very clear and very concise. And that's where I got, writing the book and understanding the overall process and job transition. And so as I was writing the book, I realized that there's so many gaps in the process that people just don't know where to start, don't know, what my structured day should look like, or my structured week should look like when I'm in
Mm-hmm.
job transition, and more importantly, what success is. And I think, all those things I've learned both in the Army as well as in global operations, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, in your book, I know you gave us a few of the tips, and you have some really great insights and strategies in there. But are there some that you would maybe highlight that our listeners can maybe implement right away to help them in their job search?
Well, I think the first one is a lot of times people tend to jump into the job that they just recently had, and then before too long, like I was, we're out on job transition again.
Mm.
So a very simple one is an 8.5 by 11 and a half piece of paper, and hold it sideways. And I tell people, draw 3 equal lines,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the third, in the left lane right there, you want to kind of go over the last job or the current job that you're over, right? And say, keep it positive, but what are the things that you like about the job or liked about the job? Is it the commute? Is it the salary? Is it the culture? Is it, just, the industry that you're in, right? But
Mm-hmm.
just try to keep it positive. And then what I tell people is jump over the middle for a second and then say, if you did have some money to have 2 years off to really figure out and go after that one job you really desired and wanted. Again, keeping it positive, what it is. Again, title, um, you know, culture. Maybe it's a different industry. Heck, you
Mm-hmm.
might, like for my example, I'm in Minnesota. I might be tired of shoveling snow 8 months out of the year. So I want to move to a warmer climate like Florida, right?
Right.
And so then when I tell people, once you've done those two, in the middle, what you do is you take 30% of the job you're currently at or you just left, and 70%, and that's the job that you're really going to settle or looking for, right? And I help, and that's one of the things. It's very simple, but I've used this for CEOs, CFOs, all the way down to the professional folks,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really helped them focus. So that's step one. It takes a couple hours. You can do it on a Saturday like I did. But then the other thing is, we talked about it a little bit earlier, is, how do I structure my day? How do I so my day, and I help a lot of people structure their day, is, okay, what am I going to do for heart, mind, and body so that I'm in my best physical shape? And again, I was in my first job transition, heaviest I'd ever been, not taking care of myself. And I could not just jump off the couch and start running, or I would have a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
But over 7 months, that walking became awkwardly jogging. And in 7 months, I dropped 42 pounds.
Wow.
And, of course, that's going to help with confidence, energy, all those things that are going to help you in job transition. So I tell people, that's the other thing, is make sure that you outline what your day is looking like, how you start off your day, and the meat of your day, right? It's like that 9 to 5. Just treat it like a job.
Mm-hmm.
And please don't spend all your time submitting jobs. How many people have you seen on LinkedIn? I submitted 300 resumes last month and I didn't get a call. Well, you and I know that securing your job through submission of resume is less than 1% in a national average. Securing a job through networking is 84%. So where should you be spending your time?
Right. Networking. Right.
Absolutely.
Well, back on that, as far as like rejection and setbacks, you're right. I see so many people who, I feel for them, because you see, these posts over and over again that they're not able to find a job, and, maybe they can't pay their mortgage next month because, unemployment's running out. So, I mean, what are some other ways, or, actionable advice that you can probably give them to help them have a more positive mindset when it comes to, facing rejections and just experiencing job loss?
Well, I think, I tell people, there's 3 stages to job transition that I've kind of outlined. It's the loss stage. What just happened to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do I approach this stage, right? How do I crawl out of what I call the La Brea tar pit of job transition, right? It's that first stage. What just happened to me? Who do I tell? When do I tell? All those things, and the emotions. And I tell people, you do need to take time to process that. But if it's taking more than a couple of weeks, you probably need to seek some medical advice, because you might be falling in, I'm not a doctor, but you might be falling in some kind of depression. So it's important for you to not let that go on beyond that. The other thing, to your point, there's a lot of state funded programs. Like here in Minnesota, we have what we call hired.org. It's a state funded program where people who are looking for maybe a new career pivot altogether in job transition, you sign up, and it's state funded program that help you maybe go get and finish your degree, maybe finish, a master's degree or a mini master's degree. There's other programs to help you network and, know your brand and those types of things. And all those things, can put you more in the driver's seat of success and landing your next role. And it gives you confidence. And it's also a discussion point when you're interviewing and networking. Well, what have you been doing the last 3 months? Well, let me tell you what I've been doing, right?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, there are so many different resources out there that I don't think we share enough of. And it'd be good to kind of gather some of those things. So I'm actually going to probably do some more research and see if we can put together like a list of ideas for people in different states, because you're right, there are so many government run, incentives that they have just for people who are trying to get back on their feet. So good point.
Absolutely. I think one of the things, and you probably experienced this with the people that you've helped too, is you need to ask for help.
Right.
You'll be surprised with how many people are willing. I mean, total strangers. And I always say this, the people that you think will help you the least. The people the people you don't even know yet are the ones that are going to help you the most.
That is very, very true. I have a lot of people who reach out to me, and they, sometimes start off like, I'm not sure if you're even willing to answer my question. I'm like, of course I am. What can I do for you? who knows who I know, and who knows who that person knows. And then eventually, you start building your network, and that's just kind of the power of networking.
A very good friend of mine that I met in my first job transition actually told me this. And it really rings true. Over the last 6 years, I can't believe how much has come back. He says, learn this earlier than I did, George. The more you give, the more you'll get. It won't happen immediately, but over a period of time, it's just going to reciprocate, and it's going to come back to you in tenfold. And boy, was he right.
That's true. So true.
Yeah.
Well, apart from writing, and I know you mentioned you've got yet another book, so I know we'll get into that here shortly. But not only do you write, you offer individual coaching, you consult businesses, and I know you've been a guest speaker at a variety of different places. But can you tell us more about the work that you do, and I guess what's next for you?
Sure. I won't go into all details, but some of the things, is my second book I wrote because there was a gap, and I'm sure you've seen it, where you've read all these articles where there's a lack of employee engagement. And I realized over the last 10 years, coming behind, let's say, some less desirable leaders, it's the leaders that are not engaged, causing the people to not be engaged. The leaders don't care. They're not genuinely interested in the people's success, and therefore their best talent is leaving. So that Ignite, Engage, Retain book was kind of born to say, okay, leaders, this is how I identify those issues. And then more importantly, what are the steps I can do in order to turn around and get back? So one of the things that we outline in the book that I just simply love is we go to leaders and we ask them what their biggest challenge is in the business. And we say, we can fix that in 9 to 12 weeks or less. And they say, you're crazy. We've been working on this for 3 or 4 years. It says, I just need somebody from every department. It doesn't need to be the leader. It just needs to be somebody who knows. And we're going to create a war on this problem. And not what you and I would consider a war. It's a terminology that says with all resources. So we're going to get all resources focused on this one big problem. And here's an example. Went into a company, they had a backlog of past due more than $3 million for the last 3 or 4 years. Never got better than an on-time delivery of 67%. Atrocious, losing customers, etc. And fast forward in 10 weeks, we took $3 million and we dropped it down to less than $250,000 in backlog, and on-time delivery skyrocketed to more than 94%. And since then, they've cleaned up all their backlog, and more importantly, their on-time delivery has been sustaining well above 98%.
Wow.
Right? And that's with all resources, everybody focused, and more importantly, these people are engaged. They know that they're making an impact in the business, in their skills, and they want to stay.
Yeah. So what's the name of your second book?
It's called Ignite, Engage, Retain. And both books are available on Amazon Kindle, Audible, and also in Amazon. You can buy them.
Awesome. And then is there a third book in the works?
Yeah. So the third book is actually going to be titled The Fearless Path. So it kind of comes up the military in me. It's like, okay, and I've got one of these fears that I've been trying to overcome for 10 years. And we all do, right? And it's kind of goes back to my military days of the subline is along the lines of finding your intestinal fortitude to overcome and be resilient and triumph in anything that you want and do in life. And so doing a lot of research with a lot of folks, a lot smarter than me in this book, just like I did with the second book. Yeah, I'm really looking forward. I think every author is always looking forward to their next book.
Right. I'm just looking forward to my first.
Yeah.
But we'll get there eventually.
Well, you know what? Everybody listen, every listener, everybody has at least one book. You've got some story that's going to inspire somebody out there that's struggling in the same way that you did, and they want to know a way to surpass that. You've got already the secret sauce.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I am excited to read your second book and then be looking forward to your third. I will make sure that I put all of the links to find you on my website as well as in the show notes. But any last words of advice for our listeners as they try to navigate their career search?
Yeah, I'd say, again, personal board advisors, making sure that you're not afraid to ask for help. You'll be surprised. This is your time to take, right? Don't be totally selfish. Make sure that at every end of every network, ask the people, how can you help them? Because they're going to look at it and say, wow, I know this person needs more help than I do, but they're asking me if I can help. And this actually helps you with your confidence because you still know a lot of people. You might be networking with a CFO and that CFO doesn't have something for you, but they're looking for an accountant and you know 6 or 7, right?
Right.
So,
Yep.
that's going to help with your confidence. It's also going to help you in developing better relationships long term in your networking process. And it gets back to that other point of the more you give, the more you get.
So very true. George, I would love to have you back so we can talk about your other books because you've given us such great insight. And I appreciate you sharing your experience with us. And I think that this episode will help job seekers and people who are just looking to take that next step in their career find their dream jobs faster.
That's great. I appreciate the time, Jessica.
I want to thank George again for being a part of the Jess Get Hired podcast and for joining us today and sharing his expertise on how to cut your career search in half. Remember that the insights that he shared here are not just to be heard, but you should be acting upon them. Your career journey is waiting for your magic touch, and the tools and wisdoms you've gathered here will be your guiding light. Well, if you're hungry for career transforming content, make sure to stay connected with me. Visit my website, jessgethired.com, where you're going to find a treasure trove of resources, advice, and updates on all things career related. You can join my vibrant Jess Get Hired community. Find me on Instagram, Jess Get Hired. Connect with like-minded professionals, share your story, stay informed about upcoming episodes and exciting events, and connect, follow, and network with me on LinkedIn. Search my full name, Jessica Fiesta George. And there's another exciting scoop this summer. If you have not yet caught my special series called Hot Takes, I've been cooking up something special for you. These are weekly series sponsored by the Spicy Gnome Hot Sauce. And if you haven't caught it yet, you might just experience FOMO. Tune in for quick, sizzling 15-minute episodes that pack a punch. You can watch them on YouTube or Spotify, or if you just want to listen to the audio, you can listen to it on your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to visit thespicygnome.com to order your bottle of hot sauce today. So keep the fire of curiosity burning bright because your career trajectory is about to soar. I want to thank you guys for being a part of the Jess Get Hired family. And remember, your dream job is just within reach. So stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep chasing those aspirations. Until next time, I'm your host, Jessica Fiesta George. What do y'all want to talk about next? I'll catch you on my next episode.